That Georgia-Alabama game was truly one of the instant classics where and our friend Chris Fowler had more points scored in 2 snaps over 13 seconds in the fourth quarter than he saw an entire half calling Titans and Dolphins on Monday night.
Seriously.
That was unbelievable. That kid, that 17-year-old kid is something else, man.
Yeah, he's dynamite. This is a great year for freshman receivers. You got J.J. Smith at Ohio State, who is supposed to be all-world, and he's been that.
I mean, that one-handed grab he made against Michigan State.
Remarkable, didn't break stride.
He made 2 one-handed grabs, but the one for a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And then, Ryan Williams is just so dynamic. We had him a couple weeks ago at Wisconsin. He scored their first touchdown. I mean, he is so fast. He's such a good route runner, and you see the moves he made. I mean, the thing that really impressed me most was this game gets really tight. It feels like Georgia's taken completely over. There's a part where he's back for a kickoff, and there's indecision between he and the other return guy, and it ends up kind of, biting the Crimson Tide in the butt. They get the ball like their 3-yard line. And then 5 minutes later, when they desperately need a play, he makes a huge play, makes a great adjustment on the ball, then beats 2 guys down the sideline, and they score. I mean, it's insane how good he is. He really is supposed to be a high school senior right now.
I can't imagine. We were talking about it the other day, that some 15-year-old kid is going to have to, some sophomore or junior might have to cover him if he was in high school right now. That's insane that kid would be in high school right now. That's crazy. He's the move he made to make both Georgia defenders collide into each other. Then he moves, and after the move he made to catch it, that really was pretty special. Milroe looks so much better now than he did last year, right? Is that just a maturity or a Kalen DeBoer effect?
I think it's both. I mean, it's easy to say both, but what you see is, he hits top speed, and we saw this last year, crazy fast.
Yep.
And then he's physically a big guy. I don't know if people realize how strong he is. I mean, he does look like a running back physically when you see him in person. He throws a really good deep ball. He's got a really strong arm. I just think there's some polish and different things that now we're seeing that he is maturing before our eyes. And DeBoer is really good. I mean, if there's anybody who is I don't know who this guy is. He won a bunch of games and national titles at NAIA level somewhere, which was Sioux Falls. It's not like it's on anybody in major college football's radar.
Right.
And he wasn't at Washington that long. He was at Fresno, did well, was at Washington, did great. He gets here, and I think for a lot of people who are like, how's it going to work in the SEC? You sit there and look, they were so primed. They jumped all over Georgia in that game. And I think you don't do that if your coaching staff isn't really dialed in and has them playing loose and confident. And he gets that. And, he's 5-1 all time against top 10 opponents. I think he's 14-2 against top 25 opponents in his career. I mean, he just has a great feel for things. And I think you see this, the offense is different. Now, look, Ryan Grubb, who's now the Seahawks OC, he was the guy running the show last year at Washington. They had 3 terrific receivers, and obviously Michael Penix Jr., who is an elite passer. And I'm not saying Jalen's not, but Jalen's different. And I think the offense is different. But they're fun to watch. They really are.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what, you look at the SEC right now. Georgia struggled with Kentucky, and obviously they lose this game. I wouldn't write them off. You have Ole Miss, who we thought was really good because they were just crushing everybody, but they finally play a decent team. And they get Kentucky, but it's in Oxford, and they don't look good at all. I mean, their offense doesn't look good. I mean, I think Tennessee's really good. I definitely feel that way about Texas. But now you're sitting there going, the SEC is a little more wide open maybe than, I don't know. I think we thought it was wide open. It's probably not quite what we thought it was a week ago. I
mean, for Alabama to perform the way it did in that big game with their new coach and Nick sitting up, in the suite, picking games with Miss Terry, on ESPN before. And I know I'm talking about your competition, but I mean, it really had to be an immense amount of pressure that he doesn't seem to show. You know what I mean?
He doesn't.
Ever. We had him on, and it's just okay.
That's him. It's crazy. So Chris Peterson, I work with at Fox, brilliant guy, former Washington coach. We had this conversation, he and I, a couple of times, but one in particular, he talked about when Kalen got the job at Washington. And there's some similarities between the two guys in that, Chris had been wildly successful at Boise State and was like the big trick play guy. Mm-hmm. And he always, he always coached loose. And then he got to Washington and he said over time, the pressure and it's almost like everything crowds you. You aren't the same guy. And he said, that's going to be hard for Kalen to be that way. And he was like, in his interactions with him, he was like very specific on certain details. And he was like, yeah, he was like, you can't stay, you're going to change. It's just like that happened. Mm-hmm. And so far, again, I'm not with him every day, but even my limited interaction with him, I'm like, seems like the same guy.
Seems like the same
and
guy.
I think he's been really smart about, he's taken some of the best things that Nick Saban had culture-wise and some of the key pieces around him, whether it's Jeff Allen, who's the right-hand guy who was the strength coach, and Ginger Gilmore. These are people behind the scenes, or it's just very masterful. I'm not saying they're going to win, match Nick Saban's run of national titles, but that so far, it's way early, is looking like a brilliant hire by Greg Byrne to get him from Washington in a place where he's never been, and looks like it's pretty seamless.
He's 5-1 against top 10 opponents.
Yeah.
Who's the one that you lost?
I think there's a rematch of those two teams.
Oh, that's right. Coming up this weekend.
Yeah. But that coach is now in the NFL.
Moving on. I know that. Across the street. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.